Okay, shalom everybody. Shalom, how's everybody doing? Hope everybody's doing good. I want to do like a recap of the mtDNA and Y chromosome studies, the paternal and maternal haplogroups. But I wanted to also explain a little bit about the difficulty involved. Okay, if I can do a screen share here and go here. Of course, we haven't spent too much time talking about the mitochondrial DNA. We have, of course, the L1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, which is the Hermetic Mitochondrial DNA, which is in Africa. The M mitochondrial DNA is in Asia principally. You have it's the C, the D, the G, the E, and I think the Q. And then there's, which is mostly just in Asia. Then you have the Japhetic. I mean, this is the Japhetic. The M is the Japhetic. Then you have the Semitic mitochondrial DNA, which is has quite a lot of variety. It's separated into like two divisions. One, the R, is pretty much the Jewish mitochondrial DNA. But anyways, there's the point being there's a lot more to study on it, and we haven't, spent too much time studying that. So there's a lot more to learn. In fact, I haven't really assigned anybody. Probably can't assign anybody the mitochondrial DNA because I don't think there's enough records or anything to do that. But we do have records for the Y chromosome. But even so, it's still not easy to assign different people, or there's 16 grandsons of Noah, assign them to everyone. I wanted to explain a little bit about the difficulty. They changed the letter designations here. So when they started out with a labeling system. Then they changed it and modified it and went to another labeling system, which doesn't seem to be any less confusing, but it's a different designation of some kind, which I have to figure out. It's M and V and stuff like that. And then there's a number behind it, 172, 170, whatever. So they changed this numbering system here because they started out with the E1, B1 and stuff, and then now it's no longer the E1, B1. So what they used to, all the information they used to be, say, oh, this is E1, B1, King Tut, or whatever, right? Well, actually, King Tut has an R1B. But anyways, the other pharaohs and people that are assigned E1, B1, or whatever, might have a different designation now, but they've already been labeled, is what I'm saying. So it's hard to know what's going on sometimes. Then you have things like this F here. is a separate line from this F here, totally separate line, because they went and labeled everything, and then they realized they had somebody here that they had to designate, which is probably Lud. But I wanted to go through the easy designations and then go on to the harder ones that are harder, because some of them are easy, some of them are hard. I think I already have one of these open here. Let me see this one here. So in labeling, there's some obvious ones, obviously. You have, of course, the J1, J2 is probably pretty easy. That would be Arphaxad, by way of Abraham, because Abraham is the father of the Jewish people, the Jews, Judah, and the Arabic people. So that's pretty much a given. The Egyptian, of course, is Mitzrayim. That's pretty much a given. Kush is from Kush. That's pretty much a given. And we have the Elamites, Elamo-Dravidian. Dravidian is H. That's pretty much a given. So in fitting the pieces together, we pretty much have here an idea of what's going on. So the J is Arphaxad, and then since the I is connected to the J, that would be Arphaxad as well. Then you have the FG H. We already know who the H is, and all we have to assign is the F, the F2, and the G. The G seems to be the Assyrians. The F seems to be the Syrians, and the F2 is the remaining one, which would be the Lydians, and that would cover all the sons of Shem. Of course, we have in the Hamite African tree, we already have Mitzrayim, Kush, and the original Phoenicians were in North Africa. If you look at the old maps, if you listen to Josephus said that Phut is the father of the Phoenicians. So those are the original Phoenicians in North Africa. And eventually they just, spread into this area, which is not very far away, considering. The only other one would be Canaan, to be able to identify who Canaan is, but that might be a little bit harder. But he would be an E something or other, because he can't be too far away from his other three brothers. Okay, and of course the Elamites, that are the Dravidians, are also the gypsies, the H, so they're the gypsies as well. And speaking of the G would be probably the Assyrians, because Asher started out here in this area here, and then there was the Assyrians, which were like the first out of control nation that went, to take over everybody or whatever, pretty much. And they kind of consolidated in this area here. Okay, so that would be the Assyrians. And the other one would be the Syrians, which are here to this day, which would be, you have to look at some other maps to figure that out. I don't know if this will show it very well. It even has the F. Doesn't even have the F. Okay. So this map is no good. This one is so-so. I think we got an F, G, and K. So the K would be the Medes. They did some marauding too, and so that this green sliver here would probably be the Mede, because the Medes is a Japhethite, remember, and the only possibility it could be otherwise would be the T or the L. But we have the L here, not to be confused with the F, because the F would be the Assyrians. And it's really kind of hard to tell which is which here, because you have it looks to me like this is F up here, and down here is L. But L would be the Thracians, not to be confused with the T. And I have some maps to show better the distribution of the L and the T. But it's kind of hard to figure it out just by looking at a map like this, because this really doesn't give you a whole lot of good information. So we'll have to go back over here and see if we can find something there. Right. Oh, hold on a second. Got Dan Strait, you got Raymond, Boatar, Jamir Himon, and here we go. So I'm trying to do a recap here and talk about some of the difficulties in finding who is who. Okay, so let me go ahead and return. I think I want to find this in here. Okay. So yeah, we have the L and the T. Actually, there's one map here that has them both together, and they would really have no reason to be together, but apparently they have them together. Other than the fact that they came from the same area. There's this map here. Okay. So this is apparently a combination of both the L and the T. Now, the reason why they're together is because they both came from Greece, as far as I can tell. And it seems to me that when Alexander the Great took over the world this way, that he brought the L and the T with him, and that's how they ended up in Iran and in India. It seems to me. Now, the only other one it could be would be the K. And the K doesn't seem to go up into Europe so much. But originally, the L and the T were in Europe, so you could expect them to go up into Europe and all over, for that matter, because of Alexander the Great as well. When he went and took over the world, going all the way to Iran. So that seemed to have spread the L and the T. But this is both the L and the T, which have basically nothing in common except for their proximity to each other, because they're two different lines, two different brothers. Okay, so we'll separate them, see what they look like. Here's the L. You notice it's concentrated in Greece. Actually, the Thracians started out in this area of Greece. And the reason why I'm designating the Thracians as the L because the Javans seem to be more of the seagoing people which went to America. But since they started out in Europe, they are all over Europe, it seems. So, and then of course, as I was surmising in that when Alexander the Great took over the world, they ended up in India. So that's one of them. Here's another one. Well, actually, this one here is the T now. Let's see. Yeah. So this is the difference. This would be the T started out. You notice the T is on this side of India, even though they seem to be pretty much in the same places. The T is more on this side. The L is more on this side of India, the other side of India. But you can almost see how prevalent it is in Iran when Alexander the Great went this way. And of course, they were already spread out as a sea people, so that's why they're not so much in their place of origin, because they had already spread out, became part of the Canaanites and everything, and of course Egypt. And of course, they went all the way to the New World. They went all the way to America, which is another thing. And the T is present in the Jewish population. It's kind of a signal, or it's a mark of the Jewish people because the T, is commonly present in the Jewish people. So that's why I designated it as the T, because they're the Javan, the sea people. Okay, the other one here is the difficult one, which is Canaan. I want to know what number Canaan is, and this seems to me to be a likely candidate for Canaan. Of course, these are percentages, 10 to 15% in this area. Originally, of course, they were here. And then, of course, they, became part of other peoples and everything, Hittites and things like that. So this seems to be a pretty good possibility for Canaan. The only thing is, well, it's M123 as opposed to M81, which would be the Phoenicians, and as opposed to the V12 and the V32, which is Mitzrayim and Kush. The only thing is that when they change these designations, it's kind of hard to know who's who or what's what. But this seems to be a likely candidate for the Canaanites. So we'll keep that in mind, the M123, which is an easy number to remember because it's 1, 2, 3. So that's my tentative placement for the Y chromosome of Canaan. And here's another map of T. It's a little bit, I guess, a little bit stronger signal. it kind of shows more of its origin, because these are mountains here. I guess they're mountains. I don't know. I guess that's why they stayed in this area. Of course, this is a Ty chromosome, greater than 7%. So you could see how they could become part of the Jewish people. And of course, this dispersion in this area here could be the Jewish people. Anyway, they could have become part of the Jewish people, and that's why they're in this area anyway. But, you know, this is the Levant right here. This is Mesopotamia. So it's basically where everybody came from to begin with. But the Javan and Tiras would be here. Javan is here. Tiras is here. This is basically Greece. And, you know, they were here in this area, but doesn't mean that some didn't remain in this area. Because everybody, of course, came from Mesopotamia anyway. So there's that too. Of course, this is major trade routes and things, major population areas throughout ancient history, of course. But the Javan people, the Ty chromosome, reason why I name it the Ty chromosome, because the Javan people were known as seagoing people were in this area. And of course, this is where Carthage is and places. So it seems reasonable to assign the T to Javan and the L to Tiras. Another one that is, you know, pretty much straightforward. Well, before I go to that, maybe I should go to the G. So this is the Assyrian one. The Assyrian one, not to be confused with the Syrian one. So, of course, originally Asher is in this area right here. Then they became dominant, and then, of course, somebody else, became dominant. But Asher is known to have gone into Europe. So it seems a likely likely candidate, and of course, they're throughout this whole area here. Not to mention that they're part of the Jewish population as well. So basically, everywhere the Jewish population goes, the G goes with them as well. You know, a good percentage of them. It's another marker. So the T is kind of a marker of the Jewish population as well as the G. And of course, this is the area of where they cross over probably into Europe. Okay, so that's the reason why Asher, the Assyrians, is assigned as a G, because it seems to fit the area where they were, the area where they went to, pretty much. But remember, there's of course, this is a G, this is Semitic, but of the tribes of Japheth, the Asiatic grandsons, or the basically Asiatic tribes. There's Javan, Tiras, Meshach, and Tubal. Then there's Madai, which I assigned as being a K. And of course, there's Gomer, and there's Magog. There's seven sons. So the problem in assigning the Y chromosome, or between the T, the L, and the M, is that you have the Medes, you have Javan, Tiras, and Meshach and Tubal. And then there's Magog and Gomer, but I think I pretty much have Magog and Gomer accounted for. And that's what I wanted to go next here. Over here, because this is an interesting tribe or Y chromosome. This is the OY chromosome, but it's actually this is an NO haplogroup. So it's N and O because they are both the same family, as opposed to when they combined L and T, they weren't the same family, but the N and the O, they are the same family. So this is the largest population in the world. O is mostly here in China and Korea, and the Philippines as well. I mean the Oceania, or whatever you call this, as well. There's a lot of O. So this is actually the largest population in the world for the Y chromosome, is the O, and the N population belongs to the same family tree. So all of this N up here into Finland and up here in Siberia, that's all N, which belongs to the O family tree. So that's why they have them combined, is because they do belong together, as opposed to the other map that I showed where the oh, we got too many photos here or something. I guess I got too many photos. Okay, so then if we separate them, we'll have the well, we don't really need to separate them anyways, because I think we have a good idea of what it is anyway. Okay, this is how we do it, I guess. So this one, yeah. So yeah, if we want to see the ends are up here. Finland, and the O's, they separated very early on, but they belong to the same family. The O's are down here, and and of course the O's are down here as well. So I'm pretty sure that it's Magog, because Magog seemed to be the major population. It's basically the only reason why I assigned O as Magog, because it's the major population. And the only other possibilities, of course, are Meshach, Tubal, and Madai, because the Javan and Tiras don't seem to fit, since they're Mediterranean, basically, even though they went all the way to India. Here's the T here, here's the L here. Not to be confused with the H, which is the Semitic Dravidian. But the Magog seemed to be the major population, and as the major population, it seemed to have like pretty much taken over, with the exception of the C Y chromosome, which we know the C is Nimrod because it can't be anybody else, because it was Nimrod who was the first king in the land of Shinar who never went to Africa. His descendants migrated east all the way to America. But the O pretty much, well, it's separated from the N, entirely. It's an entirely different branch of the same tree, but it's completely separate very early on. And that's how they got separated. Maybe they got separated when Nimrod came through here. I don't know. Or Nimrod's descendants. Something to think about. Possibility, because we don't really have the history very well. I got to study up on the ancient Chinese history more, but maybe I can determine which population these were. Well, they are obviously Mongolic, Tungusic, Tungusic, and Kazakh. So, so that makes it easier to study the history. We'll just study the Mongolian history, the Tungusic, and the Kazakh history, and we know the history of the descendants of Nimrod. And then we got this is what is this? The Chukotoko Kamkatkan, and whatever this is. I don't know if this is a mixture, if it's just the CY chromosome. But that's how I determined the OY chromosome, the O and the N. It seems reasonable to believe that when these populations moved east, the N kind of got separated from the O as the populations moved through. Here's another population, Hazara, which is C. Of course, the Tibetans are D. Tibetan Burmans are D. This, I don't know what a Paleo Siberian is, or Turkic, or whatever. Anyways, there's D2 here, and there's D2 Jomans. And then, of course, there's D2 Aniu Japanese Jomon. And, of course, the origin of the D, we already know, is the Andamanese, which are dark-skinned, basically sub-Saharan African descendants, but who probably never went to Africa. Because the same way Nimrod never went to Africa, it seems the Andamanese probably never went to Africa either. So there was people traveling this way very early on. They just kept on going east, so that these populations here have dark skin. A lot of the populations have dark skin. Many of the populations, including, of course, the Australian Aborigines and Papua New Guinea places, and the only other Y chromosomes are the M and the S here, and they seem to be seem to have been isolated going all the way back. If we look at the Y chromosome maps, okay. If we look at this map, the M and the S seem to be separate, but then again they seem to be separate from everyone else as well. So the M and the S goes all the way back to the beginning, as well as the K goes all the way back to the beginning, and the S goes all the way back to the beginning. So these are three separate lines, descendants of Japheth, that we need to find where they came from. I'm pretty sure that the K is the Medes. K is the Medes, and of course the T is Javan, the L is Tiras, and the only other thing is to find out who the M and the S were. Which would be kind of hard if you're. I guess you'd have to go to these populations and learn the history and see which is which and see if they have anything remotely associated with Meshach and Tubal, but which would be a stretch, to say the least. But it's interesting though how they are completely separate and yet together. And the reason why I'm thinking that it's Meshach and Tubal is because the K is here too. And the K, if the K is Madai, which Madai is the Medes, pretty much determined the Madai is the Medes, was right here in this area. So since the Medes took over and left a mark here with a KY chromosome, it's probably stands to reason that some of the people that moved with Madai probably accompanied Madai all the way to Australia, and these areas of Australia are really not, of course, not together, but they could have possibly traveled together in some sense, or followed each other or something, because otherwise, I don't know how they would get there. Anyways, let me see. I don't know if anybody is eager to join. I guess no skeptics are eager to join and criticize me. That's okay, I guess. But it's not really easy to sign these letters, of course. But it's like a puzzle that is interesting to try to solve. I have fun doing it. Of course, I like this map here. This is a map of the Y chromosome distribution throughout the world, with the exception of the C3 is not even on this map. And that's the one thing, if I can complain, I would like to complain about, is that I don't have near enough data as I would like to have, or information as I would like to have. Because somehow, I don't know why, but people, either they're trying to hide things, or they're just, I don't know what it is, but whenever they do a study, they study a people and say, oh, these people had an origin from somewhere else or this other place, because I guess autosomally there's some similarity. And they don't even tell you what their Y chromosome is or what their mtDNA haplogroup is. It's like they don't even want you to know. They just want to tell you the story that, oh yeah, these people came from here and they migrated here from there, and because this and that, and they don't actually provide the information or the data that we need to have. So as you can see, the C3 is completely absent here. The F is interesting here. We have a good F. I don't know how much this is, but it seems to be a good amount of F here, which is kind of unusual. Well, actually, yeah, we do have the. Of course, this is not accurate, but there is the F and the F2. So we have the F, the F2, and the FB. Now, what am I supposed to do with that? You know, we have the Syrians, which are the Arameans, and we have the Lydians. So now there happens to be three groups here. But I guess the Lydians or the Syrians got either one, they got split up or something. But it's really hard to track and follow when you don't have all the information. But I like to point out the markers of the people that went to America, because they were pretty much a specific group of people, which I believe were the Phoenicians, and the Phoenicians had particular markers, kind of like a code of people that they consisted of. So I like to show this here, because this is a huge mark, huge signal for the TY chromosome in America. Of course, the TY chromosome is in other places as well, as you can see here. And we know it's in India because of Alexander the Great, probably, that took them there. But the fact that the TY chromosome is among the Jewish people, it's a marker in the Jewish population, which I showed in previous videos. And but it's also the a major part of the population of the Phoenician population that went to America, that I believe mined copper, silver, gold in America. So the brown is America. And of course, in the Mediterranean, there was the Javan TY chromosome, as well as the R1b Y chromosome, that is also found in America. So not only do you have the TY chromosome, you also have the Southern European R1b Y chromosome, with almost the same population in America. And we know it was a Jewish population, because we have the I1, the I2, the J1, which is Arabic, which is North Africa, of course, and the J2. So in America, you have represented the Jewish people, the markers for the Jewish people, which is the T and the G in America, and as well as the R1B, which is also, of course, in the Jewish population. Not only that, we have the G, of course. We have, to be expected, the EY chromosome from North Africa and the BY chromosome from Africa. But the G is, of course, the Syrians. I don't know if I said African. But this is, the G is in the Jewish population as well. The same way the T is in the population. The same way the R is in the population. And of course, Q is already in America. Q is the population that already was in America. And if there was a C3, which there isn't a C3 here, it would be in America too, which is kind of annoying, but anyway. But of course, C3 and the Q were the first ones to go to America. So they were here before, of course. But in the days of King Solomon, I believe that the Phoenicians, which consisted of the Javan, of course, the Jewish people, and the Assyrian Y chromosome, and the Southern European R1B Y chromosome, plus the EY chromosome and the BY chromosome from North Africa, they went to America as the Phoenician seafaring people that brought goods from America all the way to the temple treasure, which is, hasn't really been officially established, but there's a lot of people that would agree with that probably. So, and that's one of the ways I can identify and single out the TY chromosome. I mean, the various different people. So let's look at this this map, and we have a lot more to look at in the Y chromosome. I mean the mtDNA, of course, as I said. This is an old map. Of course, you can't see it very well, but it does have things like Madai in this area. So this is the Medes, the origin of the Medes. Even has Arphaxad here, which is the origin of the Israel and the Jews and Arabs. And look at this interesting thing here. It's even got Kush here. And of course Elam. But Kush is interesting. The reason why Kush is here is because these are the descendants of Nimrod. And of course everybody was here. So that's why this is named Kush. See, so there's interesting things you can pick here and there with little bits of information here and there that you otherwise would never even see, because of course Kush is down here, as you can see here. Kush is down here, which is where Kush went to, and where the Ethiopians went. So these are, it's kind of clear that they moved from here, even have Havilah. These are, some of these are descendants of Cush in this area here. Some of these are descendants of Cush. Not all of them, but some of them are. So you can see, and there's Havilah and Sabtek again. Okay, Rama. Sabta. Anyways, the different maps place them in different places. So it's, you kind of have to look around. Of course, you have Push and, Push. Kush, Phut, and Mitzrayim. Mitzrayim, of course, is Egypt. And these other names that you see, these are like the great grandsons of Noah. So there was the sons, the grandsons, and the great grandsons. Of course, the HAM is Ham, the SHEM is Shem, and the JAPH PHETEH is Japheth. So we got Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and then all of the little sons. Okay, so we have Gomer here. Gomer is one of the sons of Japheth, as well as, and these, like I said, these other names here, Togarma. This is like the great grandson of Japheth. Of Noah, the great grandson of Noah. So Gomer has a son named Ashkenaz, and I believe another son is Togarma. So Ashkenaz is the R1A, and I'm thinking Togarma might be the R1B. But anyways, that's just an idea. But here we can see Tiras is this area of Greece. This is basically Greece. Of course, this is Turkey, this is Greece, or the Anatolia or whatever. And don't know if you can see it here, but you have the Javan. This is Javan, which they always throw him in the sea. Javan is always right here in this area, or these islands or whatever. Tiras is here in this area, or more to the north. And they always throw Javan into the sea. That's why I named him, or assigned him the Ty chromosome, because I believe he became part of the sea people, or the Phoenicians that went to the New World. But of course, the original Phoenicians were in North Africa, from descendants of Phut. But then the name Phoenician, maybe some of the Phoenicians went to Canaan, and everybody knows that the Phoenicians consisted of Canaanites, and they were called Phoenicians, but they weren't necessarily Phoenician. By that time, it was a mixture of Javan, and here we have this is Lydians. Lud is Lydians, but all the surrounding people, including Canaan, which might be the M123, the M123. And of course, this is Syria. Aram, the Arameans is the Syrians. and I'm quite sure that's the F. I'm still looking at it and still, seeing which is which, but it seems clear to me that the Assyrians. Where's the Assyrians? Here's Asher right here. Asher is the Assyrians, and then Aram became the Arameans, which became the Syrians with the FY chromosome. So this is the GY chromosome. Asher is the G. Aram is the F, and Elam is the H. Elam is the H. And this Kush would be Nimrod. That's the CY chromosome of Kush. Only possible candidate for the CY chromosome. And then somehow, probably his brother went into the Indian Ocean and became the Andamanese. But all these names, these are all people. All these ancient civilizations, they're all grandsons and great grandsons of Noah, which seems to really just fly over people's head, just flies right past. They don't even, they assume, I guess, that it's all make believe, just a story, and they don't realize that it's real history that of real people that we're all related to. I mean, there's so much history here. I'm not really a historian. I'm just kind of like catching up. So I'm sure a historian would have a lot to say about these individual people, these individual tribes all over here. Because these are all names. They're all names of the great grandsons of Noah. So that's one map. And they're basically all the same. Okay, so there's Meshach, of course, Meshach here. Meshach and Tubal, Magog, and Madai, and Tiras and Javan. Tiras and Javan, Gomer. Gomer is pretty easy because his son is Ashkenaz, which is in Europe. Basically, Ashkenaz went to Europe, and basically the only possible Y chromosome is the RY chromosome. Like I said, there is a difference between the R1A and the R1B, and I believe that difference could be between the two sons of Gomer, which would be Ashkenaz, I think, and Togarma, I think, and which of course are the great grandsons of Noah. Because there's a northern R1A, which is the Ashkenaz, and then there's the R1B, which I don't think is the Ashkenaz, so I think it's probably somebody like Togarma or somebody, which seems a likely candidate. At any rate, that's about everybody. I think have this Semitic people. A lot of maps like to divide them up into different people. Say, because a lot of times when they talk about the Sumerians, they say, "Oh, the Sumerians were Semitic." Well, yeah, they may have been Semitic, but Nimrod was their king, and Nimrod is the son of Cush. So, and because he was the great hunter before the Lord, and and he was the first king in the land of Shinar, Mesopotamia, and his descendants never went to Africa. They migrated east. After Cush was killed, he had kingdoms in this area. They eventually fell to whoever, Assyrians or whoever it was, and his descendants migrated east, as we can see, all the way to Mexico, where the Olmec statues are. So his descendants migrated all the way to Central America here, where the Olmec statues are that have African and Asian features. And what do you know? You have a basically African Y chromosome here and an Asian Y chromosome here. That could explain the Asian and African features because there's a lot of statues, there's a lot of figurines, there's a lot of evidence for individuals, because they're all individuals that have a variation of either very Asian like features to like more African like features. So there's a wide variety of statues with varying features, and they go from being extremely Asian to more African, you might say, because of course the um, the African features would be somewhat diluted by the time they travel all the way through Asia. By the time of course, they began in the Middle East. They never went to Africa, and they traveled through Asia all the way to Central America, and they still have um, African features. But by the time today, you have the Wawarani and the Kichwa Indians and the YU Indians with the C3 Y chromosome. They really don't have, remarkable African features because of the time that has passed, and because of the mixture of the mixing in with the population, the local population, which is the QY chromosome, and just the regular mixing of the population, whichever population. Remember here the R1B1 in America, and they got a question mark here because they don't know how that the R1B came to America, which is the southern R1. It's not the R1A of the Ashkenazi. It's the R1B of probably the Togarma or somebody else. So it's really interesting. And there's a Q3. Well, I don't know. They got a question mark here, whatever that is. But anyways, but then there's what they don't have here, which is missing, is the TY chromosome, which is just as strong. And the if the Phoenicians came in here, that would explain the RY chromosome, the TY chromosome, and the other Y chromosomes that would be a signature of the Phoenician population, and which includes the Jewish people and the African EY chromosomes and the GY chromosome from Assyria, which is very interesting. At least I find it interesting, find it fascinating. So maybe somebody wants to have a discussion with me. No, whoops, wrong one. Try this again. No, nobody here yet? I guess not. Okay, so maybe I'll just look a little bit more at some of these other pie charts. See what I can find, or see if there's something to see. Okay, we've covered the L and the T, and the Canaanite Y chromosome, and we've already been through the I and the J Y chromosome, and the G. So we've already been through pie charts as well. Guess that's about it for right now. Of course, we have different populations. Maybe I'll just review some of this here because I was talking about the signature or the identifying code or signature of the Jewish population. So, oh, this is the mitochondrial DNA. I have to go to. Let me go instead to one of these, which is I think this is the Y chromosome. Okay, so this is the Sephardic Jews. Just to make sure that people know I'm not making up things, here's the TY chromosome. It's for some reason always seems to be present in the Jewish population, which I always wondered why that's there. And then when I start thinking about the Phoenicians and the day of King Solomon, and the fact that the Javans were basically sea people in the Mediterranean, right in the area, that they could easily have become part of the Phoenician population, which in turn became part of the Jewish population. And of course, you have the R1B, which went to America. And for some reason, we have the Q here. I don't know what the Q is doing there, but you have the G, of course. Remember, I'm not making this up. You have the E1B1, which is probably Canaan, which is Albert Einstein, has an E1B1. So I'm not making it up. That's the T, the R, the G, the E. Of course, the J1, the J2, which is both Arabic. Actually, yeah, some of the J1 I think is Jewish too, or Judaic. If not Judaic, they kind of tied it in because there's the Cohen. The Cohen are the J1 because the Cohen are not part of the tribe of Judah. So the Cohen are a part of the tribe of Levi. So they're not Judaic, but they are part of the Arphaxad family tree, of course. So they kind of fit in more with the J1 than the J2 somehow, which would be more study. But anyways, that's the Sephardic Jews. And we have also, and the two basic Jewish populations are the Sephardic Jews and the Ashkenazi Jews. So these are the Jews in in Europe. or deep in Europe. And there's the T again. And the Q, I don't know why that's there. Of course, there's I. But here, now we have it separated. Now it's separated between the R1A and the R1B. Of course, more R1A, which is Ashkenaz himself. So Ashkenaz himself is the R1A. And this R1B might be, well, maybe a descendant of Ashkenaz, but maybe Ashkenaz's brother. And of course, you still have the Assyrian, and you still have the Canaanite population. So that's basically the signature of the Jewish population, and that's basically what went to America as the Phoenicians. See, I'm not making this stuff up. I'm not making it up. This is basically the Phoenician population that went to America too, of course, with less amount of J1, J2, and less amount of I1 and I2. Well, this hardly has any I1 and I2. So I guess when Israel separated from Judah, they really separated from Judah because there's not much left of Israel here. But you notice there's not other populations. You don't see other populations. This is all you see. This is all you see in the Jewish population. The I, which is Israel, the J2, which is Judah, the J1, which is Arabic, and of course, Levi, Aaronic, the Assyrians, the Canaanites, of course, the Ashkenaz, and the Europeans, and the T, which is Javan, the Phoenicians, from the Phoenicians. So it makes a lot of sense to me, anyway. Jason Brown, I missed the Canaanite Y chromosome. Okay, I can try to recap the Canaanite Y chromosome again. And let me see. Okay. So yeah, this is the L, this is that. Wow, is there more? Anyway, I'll find it here. So yeah, the Canaanite. Here we go. So now I'm basically guessing, but I'm thinking that since this EM123 is in the area of Canaan, and of course the area of is Turkey today, but basically Assyria or whatever it was, and all throughout North Africa, Europe, and Egypt, and everything. I'm temporarily assigning the EM123 to the Canaanites. More or less the population, because of course they're all throughout this whole area, anyways. Because the Canaanites were not the Egyptians, and they were not the Phoenicians, and they were not the Cushites. So they have their own Y chromosome. So this is the EM123. Phoenicians are EM81. The Mitzrayim is V12, and Kush is V32, which actually I should go there. So this is M81, would probably the Phoenician, the original Phoenician, the first descendants of Phut, the Phut descendants, and the Mitzrayim descendants, V12, and the Cushite descendants, V32. So the Canaanite population could possibly be EM123, according to that map I just showed. And because they're a little bit more spread out, but pretty sure they became part of the Jewish population because Albert Einstein is an E1B1, which is the previous labeling. It's not the most recent labeling. Oops. So yeah, this is the Y chromosome. So this would be the Hamitic Y chromosome. This is the Semitic Y chromosome. This is the Japhetic Y chromosome. Of course, this R1A is Ashkenaz. R1B would be maybe Togarma, Ashkenaz's brother. Because you can see how they separate completely. Completely. That's the reason why I didn't want to say R1B is Ashkenaz too, because they're completely separated way back when. They're completely separate. So I'm thinking that both of these are the great grandsons of Noah. So Noah's son would be Japheth, his grandson would be Gomer, and his great grandson is Ashkenaz and Togarma. And there's an R2 and a Q, which is the Q is one that's in the Jewish population too, for some reason early on. Probably, I don't know if that would be Meshach or Tubal or not, but it doesn't go all the way back to the beginning. That's why I didn't name any of these Meshach or Tubal or anything. So I'm taking the M and the S that go all the way back to the beginning and naming them Meshach and Tubal, and the K I'm naming as Madai. The T, which is in the Jewish population because of the Phoenicians, the Phoenicians in the time of King Solomon, TY chromosome, and the L is the Thracians in Greece. And then there's the N and the O, which would be Magog. Magog. They separated way back at the beginning, but they belong to the same family tree as the largest population in the world. And of course, we have the Arphaxad here, descendants of Arphaxad, which would be J1, J2, which is Judah, Levi, the Arabic people, and the I is the Israelite people, which I'm included in this I right here. I'm an I1, M253. That's what I am, which got me interested in this study to begin with. It's what got me interested. So maybe if I can appreciate it. Just curious why you're saying E1B1 is Canaanite. Well, because the Canaanites are the ones that were in close proximity to Israel, and because they are in the Jewish population, and because Albert Einstein is an E1B1 or was an E1B1. So, but that was the previous labeling. I don't know if that would be an EM1253 or not. See, because we don't have the information, or I don't have the data genetic data that I would like to have. So one of these days, when we get all the information, maybe we can make a better assessment as to who is who and what is what. But it's pretty interesting because I don't know if you were here before, but when I showed this map here, if I can find it, I have to go back here. This one here shows how the Phoenicians went to America, or the Phoenician signature is found in America. So America is the brown color. Q is the color of the Native Americans. But then we have the R1b, which would be the Mediterranean or the southern R chromosome, RY chromosome, the ones that are in the Mediterranean. So this is in America. The R1b is in America. The T is in America. The the J2, the J1, the I2, the I1, they're all in America. They're all there. Plus the G. The G is in America, which is in the Jewish population as well. And as well as we see the E and the B from Africa, North Africa, or Canaan, or wherever. It doesn't say which E or anything. But I'm assuming it's North Africa or Canaan, which is also in the Jewish population, or you might say the Phoenician population that went to America. So to me, that's a strong signal. You got the G, the T, the R, and the E, and the B. Everybody that went to America as Phoenicians, as the Phoenician population, for the sake of bringing back temple treasures back from America, bringing them back to the temple of King Solomon's time. Because King Solomon's the crossing of the Red Sea. He has pillars there with his name, where the chariot wheels were found underneath on the sea bottom. And so he was basically king of this whole world, this whole area, the king of the whole world at the time. Or there was peace. Of course, we know there's peace in the whole world at the time because of the strength of Israel. And then, of course, after they broke apart, then Israel, the 10 tribes of Israel were pushed north. And then eventually Judah was pushed north. And so today, even the Judaic population, the J2 and the J1, is all through this area right here, between Greece, or actually Italy, Greece, Turkey, and Iran, is like 2/3 population Judaic all the way through, you know. So they got pushed out of Israel, and that's where they ended up. Of course, they different places in Europe as well, and of course South America, and now America, and everywhere. But the other video that I had, mitochondrially, is 95% Semitic mtDNA, with the signature of the Jewish people, which is what the other pie charts are showing. But that's about it. I guess I'll quit because I want to take off and go into the woods now. So I guess that's about it. I was waiting for some skeptic to come give me a hard time and criticize me and talk bad about me and stuff, but I guess nobody showed up. But I've done this several times already, and seems like nobody's willing to show up to have a conversation about it or to discuss it. All right. Well, thanks. God bless everybody, and I'm off for the woods.